Now, while one of these devices is keeping to the design language from last year, the other one is making a very drastic change. The Samsung Galaxy S7 might look a lot like the one from last year, but a new feature is coming back from the original Galaxies, and that is the micro SD card slot, which is now part of the SIM tray. But ultimately, this is the same metal frame and dual glass panel design that we saw from last year, only this time, both the S7 and the S7 Edge will also have edges on the rear. Now, this makes the phone sit very nicely in the hand, and if you used the Note 5 and knew that this was a nice ergonomic feel, then you now have it in the smaller and much easier to handle 5.1-inch Galaxy S7. On the other hand, you have the LG G5, which looks vastly different from the one we had last year. The power button is still on the back, but now that houses the fingerprint reader, and this metal body design is pretty much just a unibody, but still is able to have a removable battery. Now, we will talk about the modular design of the LG G5 in our first look extensive video, but ultimately what you do is you actually slide out the bottom panel, and you are able to take out the battery itself, snap it off, and then add it to new modules that will add functionality to the experience of the LG G5. Aesthetically, it's really your choice. If the Galaxy S7 feels way too familiar to you, at least the LG G5 is starting to think outside of the box. And even if that might be at the detriment of those who loved the LG G line's design, at the very least you're getting some new features in the G5 that are outside of the norm. The Galaxy S7 is still ergonomically better in this particular comparison because it sits so nicely in the hand due to the curves on the back of the phone. Now, both displays on here are bringing always-on display technology and features, and basically what that means is that when locking the phone, you will have a display on the screen that will still show the time or any other pieces of information that are available. In both cases, however, though the Galaxy S7 provides a little bit more control and a few more features in terms of its always-on display, it is still rather limited, and in the case of the G5, you could put a signature on this particular feature, but it might get cut off because it can only handle so many characters. But nonetheless, 5.3 inches is what you get in the LG G5 in an IPS construction, Quad HD of course, and the AMOLED on the 5.1-inch sized Galaxy S7 provides the kind of colors that you would want out of a display if the punched out colors of the AMOLED really speak to you. Performance is going to be a big part of both of these devices, and the LG G5 wears the Snapdragon 820 badge quite proudly. The 820 is going to be powering a lot of different devices, and that includes all the modules and even a VR experience. On the other hand, the Galaxy S7 is of course going to be powering a number of peripherals also like the Gear VR, but at our meeting today, Samsung, true to form, was keeping pretty mum about whether or not it was the Exynos 8890 inside of their devices. And we will be able to confirm that later on, and we do think that it is indeed going to be that processor as the rumors have been claiming. But even then, the performance already feels quite good on both of these devices, and everything has been heavily streamlined. In the case of the Galaxy S7, it still feels like the TouchWiz of yesteryear, and it has a lot of the features kind of hiding in plain sight. As you go to the settings, you find that a lot of advanced features are available. But if you get into one particular setting in the Galaxy S7, there is a Galaxy Labs area where you can actually turn off the app drawer. Instead, just move all of the icons to the home screens, and that's where they all live. Of course, that is a controversial move for pretty much any manufacturer, but in the case of the Galaxy S7, at least you have the option to turn it on or off. On the other hand, the LG G5 went ahead and nixed it altogether. There is no app drawer in this version of Android Marshmallow that is installed on the LG G5, and we did think that that was a bit of a bummer when we first used it. What LG did say, however, is that market research showed that a lot of people are looking for more streamlined and simpler experiences on their smartphones, and eliminating the app drawer also eliminates a few of those confusing and convoluted menus that would be used if you were trying to uninstall, remove, or just move icons around. But still, between these two operating systems, it's a little bit of a toss-up. While Samsung, however, did keep a lot of the features inside of their TouchWiz, LG has been trying to really streamline the experience, and certain features like the Q slide are no longer available. So if you want even more features and, let's say, multitasking features on the Galaxy S7, it might provide even more functionality for you over the LG G5. Both devices also have fingerprint readers, and they're just located in different places but have the same exact way of triggering them. The power button on the G5 is on the back, and then you leave your index finger there and it will activate. But the home button, the iconic home button rather, of the Galaxy S7 is here and a little bit more flush with the body so that you're able to just press the home button, leave your thumb there, and then it is able to unlock. And in hardware, both of these phones have a lot to give, but the Galaxy S7 keeps things fairly conventional. You have all of the different connections available within, but power consumption has been given a huge boost because the Galaxy S7 comes with 3000 milliamp hours already available. Now, it also provides wireless charging, which the LG G5 does not. However, both phones are able to use quick charging in order to get the batteries up to speed in little to no time at all. But the LG G5 takes the crown in hardware solely because it is an expandable experience. Pop out that bottom panel and remove the battery, and you can put the new battery into a new module, which will actually put more functionality onto the phone. This was shown in a couple of main examples, including a hi-fi audio DAC that could be put on the bottom to enhance the audio experience with hi-fi audio, or a camera module called the Cam Plus, which is basically a camera grip that adds even more battery to the entire experience, and provides hardware buttons for the camera experience, like a shutter button, a video record button, zoom, and just a way to trigger the camera from anywhere in the phone. This is a very out-of-the-box way of thinking for the LG G5, and if functionality over form is definitely what you're looking for, then there might be more to offer in the LG G5 over the Galaxy S7. That's not to say that the Galaxy S7 doesn't have a great camera up its sleeve either, as the 1.7 aperture, 1.4 micron pixel size, 12 megapixel camera on the Galaxy S7 should be able to provide some really great photos, especially in low light, given the construction of the actual sensor. On the other hand, the LG G5 has its own tricks up its sleeve, adding in a wide-angle lens on top of the conventional camera that is there, so that you are able to get even more into your shot by having a much wider field of view, 135 degrees worth to be exact. And it is a fairly seamless experience to zoom in and out of elements on the viewfinder, which will then trigger the change from one lens to the other. It basically comes down to different experiences. While you might have had a different design language between these two devices, now you have completely different experiences and expandability. The Galaxy S7 is a refinement of last year's design, but it does bring back a couple of key features that a lot of users were wishing were in the Galaxy S6. If the S6 was everything you wanted, but it was just missing those few things, then maybe the S7 is now the perfect smartphone for you. The LG G5, on the other hand, feels that there is going to be a stagnation in the smartphone space, and is trying to buck that trend by creating a whole new ecosystem for the G line. Yes, its design might be radically different, and some people may not be able to really fathom that, but because of this new design, we now have new functionality. Adding in the modules, whether it be the Cam Plus, the hi-fi audio, or even the VR 360 ecosystem, will allow the LG G5 to provide even more experiences to the general user. And we are excited to see both of these phones in action when we finally get our review unit. So stay tuned for a full versus between these two, including camera shootouts, and you will be able to see which one of these phones is definitely for you. Until then, keep it tuned to Android Authority for even more about both of these phones and MWC 2016, because we are your source for all things Android.